Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Warriors. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Having Stephen Curry on the Golden State Warriors has been a joy for their fan base. Curry, undoubtedly the greatest shooter of all time, has done nothing but play at a high level during his time with the organization. An 11-time All-Star, 2-time scoring champion, 4-time NBA champion, 2-time MVP, and much more. The 37-year-old Curry has done everything that any player could ask for on a basketball court. However, the unfortunate reality is that it all could be coming to an end sometime in the near future. When speaking about what he'll do when he decides to hang them up, Curry admitted that he has plenty of things he wants to do. He added that if a person wants to do something in life, they have to be all in. I love the idea of people giving fans a new perspective and good storytelling through podcasting, Curry said per SN. It does get a little loud at times, but some people are really good at it though. You won't see me doing it though once he retires, so don't worry about that. I got a lot of other things I want to do, because if you're going to do something, you have to be all in. It's not something I'm passionate about. Warriors championship core near the end. The idea of Curry retiring sometime in the near future has to be something the Golden State Warriors are considering. When it comes to him and Draymond Green, they both understood during the playoffs that there was a chance that this could be one of their final rides together. Curry and Green both admitted that, with Curry wondering how many more chances the organization and he'd have to win a championship. How many more chances will we actually realistically have at chasing a championship? Curry told ESPN. Not saying this is the last year, this run that we're going to have. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like.
It is interesting here. Certainly there's a 2-year window with Curry, Butler, and Draymond on their contract for the next 2 years. They have the draft picks. We're talking about teams that don't have the draft picks. Golden State has 4 tradable firsts. They can swap first in the next 7 years. Here's where the problem is. 85% of their salary is comprised of Green, Curry, and Butler. Where do you have the contracts to go out and make a trade if it's been available? Certainly, Jonathan Kuminga is going to be the wild card in all this, a restricted free agent. Do you resign him, to use him in a potential signing trade? Kuminga basically will dictate as far as where Golden State goes this offseason.
Jay Will, is there a path? Is there a path for Steph Curry, one of the most beloved players in NBA history, to make his way back to the biggest stage one more time?
Hey, look, I think if you're Golden State, if you're Mike Dunleavy here, you go big fish hunting. I mean, Giannis is that perfect fit there in the Bay Area. I know the West is absolutely loaded, but just think about the fit that Steph Curry will be able to have with Giannis and how compatible those two will be together. They have draft collateral. Obviously, you need to make moves and get under, but they've shown multiple times they don't care about going into the second apron or over the salary cap. I mean, that's what Joe Lacob does. And if there's a one way you could send off Steph Curry off into the sunset on the horse, that's with Giannis.
Oh my God!
Why are you making that face?
Because that's the KD thing all over again. If you do something like that,
Meaning they just be so good.
oh my God! I mean, but Bobby, is there really an avenue? I know there's 4 first-round picks, but how much can you possibly spend in tax and everything else to get a guy like a guy like that on that roster? How can you possibly make that happen?
I would say how it'll happen is that you're likely trading Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green in the trade.
Yeah,
That's how it's happened. You can't. There's not a scenario where you could fit Giannis and then also keep the other 3 players there.
Well, Bobby, I would say this. Thank you for your service, Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler. Thank you for being a part of the team. Bye-bye.
That would be a fascinating decision for them to make on those players. I mean, Jimmy Butler's been there for 20 minutes, but I mean, Draymond Green has been there forever, and obviously a huge part of it. And the way they have conducted themselves, I get it. I mean, if you're going to get Giannis, obviously you consider absolutely everything, but that would be a fascinating one. All these things are going to happen soon, by the way, because the NBA draft is the end of this month. If Giannis is going to get traded, it is overwhelmingly likely to happen in the next few weeks. In the meantime, for Bobby Marks, for some of the most glamorous franchises in the NBA, the offseason has...
On Dub Nation, you're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Tyler Smith, and on today's show, Naz Reid. The Warriors are the favorites to sign him in free agency this offseason? Well, that's interesting, considering the Warriors don't have cap space this offseason. They only have a couple of exceptions to use, and Naz Reid might be more expensive than those said exceptions. But the people out west think that there's a realistic chance that the Warriors add Jelly Fam Naz to the lineup next season. They have him listed as plus 175 to add Naz Reid, and followed by the Brooklyn Nets, who do have cap space at plus 220. The Hornets, who have definitely a little bit more than Golden State, at plus 285. the Lakers at plus 375, they need more size, and the Raptors at plus 525. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how betting odds work, plus 175 would mean that if you bet $100 and Naz Reid did sign with the Warriors, you would win back $175. So pretty close to even odds there if you're, looking at these from a broad perspective. Like, that's a pretty, heavy favorite with Golden State at plus 175 here. So let's explore the prospect of signing Naz Reid. Now, we'll get into more of the financial aspects a little bit later, but what's coming in this summer is that Naz Reid's probably going to decline this player option. It's the league-wide expectation of $15 million, and he's clearly outplayed that contract to this point. I think Naz Reid in Golden State would be an excellent fit as an immediate floor spacer, somebody who can put the ball on the deck at a super high level and score everywhere on the basketball court. Look, what he brings overall, true three-level scoring ability, both off of the bounce and on the catch and shoot. Now, he's probably a much more effective player off of the bounce. Is that the most conducive to Golden State's style? No, but they also need a guy who can just go get a bucket, specifically go get his own jump shot when the half-court offense isn't exactly getting an open look for Steph or somebody off of the ball. So to have somebody like Naz Reid in town would be awesome as a guy who can just size up a defender, get past them, finish at the rim, or create some space for a jump shot. He's got elite ball handling. I'm not joking. Like, this is a 6'9", Jordan Clarkson we're talking about here, who is really not common in the NBA. Like, when you see these type of demigod, big-time floor spacers that are really tall, like a Kristaps Porzingis, they don't have the quick first step like Naz Reid does. Like, he's almost like Kevin Durant, Jordan Clarkson, hybrid at a 6'9" level, but he can bang down low a little bit as well. And he's got elite finishing ability at the rim, really crafty, can do the up and unders, adjusting in the air. Very acrobatic player, again, for his 6'9" frame. But I'd be lying if I told you that he was an elite defender. He's not the best defender overall, but with the size and length that he has the profile to be a good team defender. Has he shown the willingness to do so in Minnesota? Not all the way, but I believe, with the backbone of Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, he can easily be molded into a good and mobile, switchable defender in Golden State. And the numbers have backed it up for Naz Reid over the past couple of seasons. He's clearly gotten better. Just 25 years old at this point, but season after season, he continues to get better and more efficient. Look, he's increased his three-point volume a ton this past season, so the percentages went down, but there's still nothing to shake your head at. I mean, 38% from three is very respectable. It's above league average, and this is a player who was the sixth man of the year back in 2023-2024, where he shot 42% nearly from three-point range. He's not going to be the best rim protector, but he'll give you a block a night, and this is a player who has shown up in the postseason each of the last 2 years. And to be honest, this is kind of where I'm looking at where he's going to affect Golden State the most, because in minutes or in these long stretches, in these long series where Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, these older players in Golden State's rotation are going to get tired over a certain amount of time, Naz Reid can step in there and be an energizer and be somebody who can take over for stretches, as I'm sure he feels ready to kind of accept a bigger role with a new team at this point, as he's currently behind Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle. He shot 40% from three-point range this past playoffs. Yeah, I'll take that in Golden State. Also 50% overall from the field. Has that float game. It can finish at the rim. He's awesome. I mean, he's not going to be the best rebounder overall, but we're looking at an offensive explosion if we're going to be signing Naz Reid, and specifically from beyond the arc, where he is uber efficient in 2024-2025. No wonder he's going to be commanding a bigger paycheck. From the catch and shoot, he actually was his worst mark out of all these advanced numbers here. 36% on catch and shoot three-point attempts, but in the corner, that number went up to 37.8. Above the break, which he had a crazy volume here, and this figure, 38.1% from above the break, is really, really good in the NBA. I mean, again, especially for a 6'9" player. Yeah, and the pull-up 3%, this is where things get kind of freaky. The off-the-bounce three-point percentage. His pull-up three percentage, 39%. Now, he didn't shoot too many of them, but 11 of 28 is really, really solid. Step-back three percentage. This one is disgusting. He shot 49 step-back threes last season, and he shot them at a 50% clip. That is just unreal. And if that was a part of Golden State's rotation, yeah, they would definitely feel it and see more wins. Look, the Warriors could also give Naz Reid the opportunity that he's looking for this summer. I think the Wolves can sign him to probably more money than a lot of these teams can, but they can't give him the opportunity and the role that he's asking for. And that's probably to be a starter at this point. He continues to come off the bench for Minnesota. And I thought, with how effective he is offensively, especially in that Thunder series in the Western Conference Finals, like Naz Reid should have been getting more looks. And I'm assuming that he's going to be in the market to land in a place where he can get those looks this upcoming season. And the Warriors could be that place. Remember what Shams said about what Golden State's going to be targeting this offseason. He said the Warriors will be incredibly aggressive in the marketplace to go find help to continue to retool around this big three. That I'm told their priority is finding a playmaking wing defender or center to add to this group. I mean, if you're looking at a player who can give you a multitude of different assets, then look no further than Naz Reid. And look, it's not going to be easy to go out there and acquire Naz. Like Mo Dackel of Bleacher Report just says, plain and simple, he can command a salary starting in the range of $20 million a season. So it is not going to be easy. We know Golden State has zero cap space at this point. And they also don't have a $20 million exception to go sign a player on their books. So it's going to take some maneuvering and some negotiating to go out there and land Naz Reid. But if Bovada's listing them as the favorite to potentially go out there and get him, then they definitely know something, and this is definitely possible. We'll keep you guys updated all offseason long as we're constantly bringing you guys Warriors content every single day, whether it's news, rumors, what have you. It's going to heat up as we get deeper and deeper into the offseason. I want you to lock us in as the number one spot for Warriors content. Go down below and hit that big red sub button and join us on the road to 100,000 subscribers. We're almost at 96K. We're going to get to how this Naz Reid acquisition goes down in just a moment, but I got to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform because it's daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. Whether it's basketball, baseball, hockey, you got playoffs in full force right now. You can win up to 2,000 times of cash. Like no joke. You can turn $1 into 2 bands. It's crazy. And you can combine and mix and match all those sports in a lineup if you want to. Prize Picks always want to make it easier for you guys as well, where they offer incredible deals like Taco Tuesday, where they slash player stat projections, or Flex Friday, where if you lose your lineup, they give it back to you in promo funds up to $20. Now, for my lineup in Game 1 of the finals coming up here, I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander more than 33.5 points. If it was 37.5 points, I'd still be taking them more. Give me Isaiah Hartenstein more than 7 rebounds, and then Tyrese Halliburton more than 9 assists. Tail my picks or fade them. Just make sure you go and do it at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the promo code CLNS for $50 instantly when you place your first $5 entry. You don't need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All that information will be clickable down in the comment section and description of today's video. Look, it's not going to be easy for Golden State to sign Naz Reid outright. It's actually going to be quite impossible to do so. But it's not going to be possible for many other teams around the NBA. If you look at what the salary cap tracker looks like for this offseason, the Brooklyn Nets, way ahead in the lead, projected to have about $56 million in cap space. Could they sign Naz Reid? Yeah, sure. But does he want to go play in Brooklyn? I don't know. Who knows? He's from the area. Detroit, they have $25 million in cap space. They could give something like that to Naz Reid, but that would be all their cap space, and then what would they do thereafter? Who knows? They're another young team. They could use a player like him to go create off of the bounce next to Cade Cunningham. Memphis, $17 million. See, I think we're already cut off from what Naz Reid will be commanding in free agency. I don't think he's going to be getting less than $17.5 million. So with Chicago there at 14, New Orleans at 12, and everybody else way below that, not a lot of teams, 2 teams are going to be able to sign him in free agency outright. Is that going to happen? Maybe, but I think it's more likely that we see a sign and trade where a team can shed some money and bring in a big Naz Reid contract. And like I said, the Warriors don't have the money on their books to just be able to go and do this right now. Obviously, Naz Reid makes more than $8.8 million, and I don't even know if you can use a trade exception in a sign and trade. The non-taxpayer mid-level exception, again, going to be just not rich enough for Naz Reid's pockets, and then the biannual won't even be close. So, Golden State's going to have to maneuver a sign and trade to go out there and get Naz Reid. Now, the item number 1 that Golden State fans need to come in contact with is that the Warriors will be losing Jonathan Kuminga in this scenario, and he very well might be included in a potential deal to get this done, and hopefully, or maybe going to a third team, because I don't think that he would be going to Minnesota. I would assume that Minnesota would probably rather pay Naz Reid than Jonathan Kuminga, but who knows? I think that they carry pretty similar value across the league, especially with Kuminga only being 22 years old. but we do have a mega trade idea that gets it all done. So walk with me here because it's a lot. The Warriors would receive Naz Reid and sign him to a $27 million a year contract. Now, the numbers, I found this exact framework on Fanspo, but I took the money down a little bit because it had Naz Reid making $34 million a year, and it had Jonathan Kuminga making $30 million a year. So if this money adjustments actually make this trade impossible, then I'm sorry, but those two guys aren't getting those figures in free agency this summer. So the Warriors get Naz Reid on a $27 million a year deal, I would assume 4 years. And then D'Anthony Melton, I don't know, I guess you make this trade somehow work with D'Anthony Melton as well because the Nets are involved. He is under contract with them at this point, but he will be unrestricted. So, again, I'm not so sure how it all works out, but on Fanspo, it came up with a success. So the Warriors get Naz Reid and D'Anthony Melton, who they had at the start of this past season, and I'm sure they have interest in bringing back for next year, granted that he stays healthy. The Timberwolves will get a wing that they're kind of desperately needing at this point in Cam Johnson, along with Drew Timme and Quentin Post. And you're going to see here the Warriors are giving up quite a few players. The Nets will receive Jonathan Kuminga, and I know it's small down there, but Buddy Hield is a big name that's going away in this deal, as well as Trace Jackson-Davis, Leonard Miller, Jalen Clark, who showed some solid stuff for Minnesota previously, and then the 2027 Golden State first-round pick, going to be unprotected. That's the last year of Curry and Jimmy and Draymond's contracts. So it's a lot. Golden State's losing a lot of players here. I believe they'd only be left with 7 active contract cats after this is all said and done. So it's not going to be, particularly the deepest lineup or the 13-man, 14-man rotation that we saw at the start of 24-25. But we all knew that probably wasn't feasible long-term, and Golden State cut their thing down eventually after the Jimmy Butler trade and was a much better team because of it. So after that trade, and you look at this potential rotation, you have a starting 5 of Curry, Podziemski, Butler, Draymond, and Naz Reid, and then D'Anthony Melton, Moses Moody, Guy Santos off of the bench. Now, you really do lose some size here in this trade. You lose Trace Jackson-Davis. You lose Quentin Post. But you have a mid-level exception available. You have a second-round pick, 41st overall, where there could be some good talent there, especially good rim protectors. And then the mid-level exception you could use on a big, and then potentially also bring back Kevon Looney on a veteran minimum contract as well. GP2 could be in the works as well. So, that's your rotation, plus a couple of vet mins and whatever happens with the mid-level and the NBA draft. But I don't no doubt think that team is better than the one we just saw in the postseason that lost in 5 games to the Timberwolves, could not make a basket without Steph Curry out there on the basketball court. I think just automatically you get a year 3 jump from Pods. You get Naz Reid, who's automatically going to be a 15-point per game scorer if he gets a bigger opportunity next season. And then, you add some other stuff around the margins. Just get yourself better than you were last year, because better than you were last year gets you into the Western Conference Finals and a chance at, going to the NBA Finals one more time for Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy. Would you make the trade? Let me know in the comments section. Type A for accept, type D for decline on whether or not you would send away Kuminga, Buddy Hield, not Drew Timme for us, Quentin Post, and Trace Jackson-Davis, along with a 2027 first-round pick to bring Naz Reid to Golden State, along with D'Anthony Melton. A for accept, D for decline. Let me know. I would accept it, but the caveat is, so it's accept with an asterisk. You have to add another big in this scenario. Now, who could that be? Could that be a Brook Lopez? You get him on the biannual exception. That's definitely a possibility. A little bit of a homecoming here back to his roots at Stanford. Also, I'm not 100% sure if Golden State retains the non-taxpayer mid-level exception after that deal. If they do, great. They can get an even better talent. If not, fine. Maybe they would have the taxpayer mid-level, which is closer to around $8 million. So you could still add a solid name there. Plus the $8.8 million trade exception is also an asset. You could go get a guy like Goga Batazzi in Orlando or something like that. Golden State has flexibility, even if they were to make this big swing deal for Naz Reid. So I'd accept it. Go add another big. You have a much better roster than last season. That will do it for today's edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Lock us in, because we're going to keep you guys tapped in all off season long with every piece of news, every rumor, free agency, trades, draft. It's all going to start heating up really, really soon. So go down below, hit that sub button. We'll see you guys all in the next one. And as always, let's go Dubs.
As the Golden State Warriors approach the 2025 NBA Draft on June 25th, their 41st overall selection, which they received from the Miami Heat in the Jimmy Butler trade and represents their only pick in the draft, will need to be used wisely. In Yahoo Sports' latest mock draft, the Warriors are projected to select Tennessee guard Chaz Lanier, a sharpshooter with genuine NBA upside. According to Kevin O'Connor, Yahoo's senior NBA analyst, the Warriors need more shooting. Lanier transferred to Tennessee after 4 years at North Florida and immediately thrived as a knockdown shooter with shot making creativity. But without great size or playmaking at his age, he's a second round prospect. Lanier, as a senior at Tennessee, made a major impact on his team's run to the Elite Eight, and if Golden State was able to grab him in the second round, he could make an immediate impact on his new team's roster. Warriors need an NBA ready prospect with their sole selection. In the 2024 25 season, Lanier averaged 18 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 1.1 assists playing in the Southeastern Conference, which featured some of the best teams in college basketball last season. Importantly, he shot a lights out 39.5% from beyond the arc, knocking down a program record 123 three-pointers on the season. However, Lanier, as a recently graduated super senior, is already 23 years of age, older than players such as Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga. This is likely the reason for his second round prospect grade. Still, as the Warriors readily displayed in their season-ending defeat in their series against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the team desperately needs players who can make shots off their bench, and Lanier projects to fill that need right away. While players such as Moody, Quinton Post, and at times Gary Payton too filled that role during the regular season, all three struggled during the playoffs. And you, fan, what do you think about Chaz Lanier's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.